Welcome to Loco Gringo, Mexico, where we can take you beyond the usual on your vacation. Each week we talk with amazing locals who know the Riviera Maya and Yucatan like only locals can. Get real tips to real places, insights on the local scene, culture, and cuisine from a local's perspective. So pour yourself a margarita, mezcal, or tequila, grab yourself a comfy chair, and let's get the show going.
Hello everybody, welcome to Loco Gringo, Mexico. Thanks for tuning in today. My name is Kay Walton. I'm your host, and I am so glad you're listening. Well, we have a great show for you today. We're going to be talking to a woman who had a calling from Tulum. Tulum called her and said, hey, move down here. And she's going to talk about that journey. Took her some time to leave her life in the United States, but she relocated to Tulum and is absolutely thriving. She talks about how she just loves the energy of Tulum. She has recommendations not only on how you can have some incredible cultural experiences, but also she has wonderful restaurant recommendations. And we are also going to be asking Kelli, her name's Kelli Reese. She's an author, and she had a book that was published last year, so we're going to talk a little bit about her book as well. This episode is brought to you by Playa. You know, lots of people ask us for information and help when it comes to real estate, whether they're looking for retirement, an investment property, or maybe they're looking to relocate to the area. And we refer them over to our friends at Playa. The folks at Playa we've known for years, and they'll make sure that you, the buyer, are fully protected and informed when it comes to buying real estate. So if you're looking to buy a piece of paradise, check out our friends at buyplaya.com. Kelli, buenos dias. How are you?
Buenos dias. I'm doing really well. Thanks.
I'm so thrilled to have you on the show. Real excited because I hear that you're an author, and I do want to talk about your book, but I want to hear about your story. How did you end up in Tulum?
Oh, how did I end up in Tulum? Well, Tulum called to people, and I'm one of the people it called to. In 2015, I walked away from a 6-figure job and a 17-year career. And a couple of weeks after I walked away from that job, a friend of mine sent me an email and said, do you want to go to Tulum? And I was like, yep. No questions asked. Never been to Tulum, but I've been to a bunch of other parts of Mexico, and I love Mexico. I've been trying to figure out how to move to Mexico for a number of years. And so we came down here a few weeks after I left my job, and it was life-changing. I reconnected in a way that had been missing in my job for so long. And when I was leaving, if I could have figured out a way for my friends, because another person ended up coming with us, if I could have figured out a way for my friend to kind of dump me off on the side of the road and just leave me here, I'll figure it out, like I would have. But I had to go back because I was in a marriage, I had a business I was opening, there was other stuff that was going on, and then I ended up writing my book. But when I left, I was standing in the airport and I said, I will be back in a year. So it took me 18 months to get back, but I knew before I left that Tulum was calling me to come back. So
where was your home? I mean, where did you come from?
In California, Northern California.
Oh, okay. Wow. I think a lot of people in the States are always trying to get to California, and you were trying to get out.
I grew up in California, yeah. And I had 18 years where I lived in a bunch of other states in the U.S. and ended up moving back to California. But it was where I live is on the coast, and it's foggy and it's cold a lot. And it's beautiful. It's amazingly beautiful, but it just started feeling like there was something missing. And so when I feel like something's missing, I go searching for what that is. That's what my book's about too.
Now, what was it about Tulum? What spaces or what gaps in your life did Tulum fill that attracted you to pack it all up and move down south?
Tulum has an energy about it. It's very feminine, and I often say like it's like being in a soft bubble. Except when you're here, things come up for you that you have to be willing to see. It's not like an easy place to live. It is still Mexico, and but it's beautiful. It's the Caribbean. It's just unbelievable to finish working and go and sit on the beach and trip in the Caribbean is like, it's a dream, you know, but there are places here in Tulum where the energy is just vibrating at a high level that I haven't found in other places. I talk energy, so
Well,
it's
and I was
an energetic thing.
And I was going to ask you, I mean, I understand the kind of the energetic way of life and everything. Can you explain for people when you talk about the energy, for people who might not be familiar with that concept, do you have a description to try to give people an idea of what that means?
Sure. Yeah, when I came, a good example is when I left Tulum the first time in 2016, after I came down when I left my job. I just felt really light, and I felt connected to myself on a deeper level. I felt like I was in my heart. And when I got back to where I lived, I was outside of the area driving home, and it felt like somebody threw a wet wool blanket on me. It was just like I ran head on into this really heavy energy that I had never noticed before. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, what is that? And it was this stark difference between the light energy that I felt like it was light versus heavy. It was very dense. And I hadn't ever noticed that before until I got out of it and reconnected and understood that, you know, there are places around that I'm going to energetically vibrate with that works better for who I am, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. You know, so many people have the desire to move to Tulum or, you know, the Caribbean and things like, but as you mentioned that there's some challenges there. Can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges you discovered once you made Tulum your home?
Yeah, there's a lot of construction going on in Tulum, and all over Mexico, there are challenges with animals, dogs, and things like that. So what I see every day, it's beautiful, but it's also can be hard to watch the amount of building that's going on. And there aren't necessarily codes in place to ensure that, you know, they're not taking out too much of the jungle, or it just feels at times like the peace isn't here all the time because of the construction. So that's one of the challenges. And then, like I said, Tulum, it does feel like a soft bubble to me, but and I have this saying that Tulum provides. It's like you think it, and it shows up for you, you know, or the right people walk into your life a few days later and offer exactly what you were thinking that you needed. It's this incredible energy thing that happens here, but it also requires you to look at yourself in a different way than you maybe ever have. Stuff comes up, especially when you live alone in Mexico. It's like you have the opportunity to really go deep and look at who you are and how you move through the world, I guess is the best way to say it. Your stuff will come up for you to work on. That's the best way. Your stuff will come up for you to work on.
And it's funny because I think so many people think if they run away to a tropical destination with palm trees, margaritas, and sand, that they can escape whatever they believe they're leaving behind. Yes,
and I can tell you when I left, well, more often than not, I heard, "I hope you find what you're searching for." And I just kept thinking, I'm not searching for anything actually, and I really wasn't. I just knew that I was supposed to move to Tulum, and I wasn't sure what I was going to find here. But what I found is myself. And so I didn't know that that's the relationship that I would end up working the most on, was the relationship with myself, you know? But yeah, people think, oh, I'll run away to Mexico and I'm not going to have to deal with anything. And that isn't always the case. You know, there's things that are different here that don't come up in the U.S., but I believe it offers an opportunity for us to go deeper within ourselves when you pick up and move to a foreign country by yourself.
Definitely. Definitely. And I think even sometimes, even if you move as a couple, I mean, you have a little bit, there seems to be a bit of a support system, but then it becomes this couple against the world. And it's still a challenge to leave the homeland and live abroad, even though abroad is just on the other side of the border.
Right. Yeah.
So, are you working in Tulum? Are you doing, because your specialty is life coaching, is that correct?
Yes, I'm a coach, and I also do readings. So I work online a lot. I use a program online called Zoom. So I have to have good internet. That's one of the challenges, finding good internet.
What kind of readings? Tell me a little bit about that.
So I do readings where some people use cards, and I use the Akashic Records, which is the energetic records of all souls, past lives. It is a written history, a diary, basically, of everything that's happened in our past lives, what's happening in this life. There's a lot of information in there. We can use past lives to help us heal from things that we may have been working on in this lifetime, and we just can't figure out why it keeps coming up again. Sometimes there are challenges that have come from past lives. I do readings that help people understand their soul gifts, their life lessons, what they're doing in this lifetime, what they've been doing in past lifetimes. It's a wealth of information, but I find that some people have readings and then it's like, oh, well, that was a great reading, any type of reading, and then they don't really utilize it. So what I do is I get the information from their Akashic record, and then I coach and help them put the information to use in their life.
Very interesting. That's really, now I can see where that would be really, embraced, especially people, I think in Tulum tend to be a little more connected with spirit, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I can see that kind of working both, whether you're doing it long distance or, right in town with people who live there. When it comes to doing like life coaching, was that a challenge? I mean, I didn't know what life coaching was. I came back to the United States on a trip and met a girlfriend who was a life coach, and I realized there's this whole world of life coaching. I didn't know I needed a coach. And being some of the people who relocate if they're trying to run away from whatever it is there is at home, or they're looking for something new, did you find that breaking into starting life coaching locally, was that a challenge, or was it relatively easy?
I used the information that was in my own Akashic record to really help me understand how to move forward after I left my job. I knew I wasn't going to return to that career. I knew that it was over. And so I did sort of recreate what I was doing from scratch. And so the hardest part for me was trusting in the knowledge that this is the direction to go. And so I had to get very clear on it. Once I got the information out of my Akashic record, that's when I really just said, well, it's here, it's right there. This is the information. I'm going to put it to use in my own life. And so I think for me, the hardest part was knowing that making an investment in myself was worthy. It's like when I was running a $34 million organization, and it's like it was easy enough for me to use money from the organization and invest in the organization, understanding that that's an investment in the future. It was harder for me at first to do that for myself. And so I made some choices where, I needed to take the leap and say, yeah, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to invest in it. And so, and I had always been coaching, even as a manager. It's just, sometimes I would talk to employees and say, well, what do you really want to do? Is this what you really want to do? Because if it isn't, let's figure it out and get you doing that, whether they stayed in the organization or not. But I was always about, let's get you doing what you want to do, because then you're a happy person on the planet, and that's good for everybody. You know what I mean? So I was always coaching, and that's the part of the job that I loved when I left my career. I was like, this is the piece that if I can take it somehow and put it into use going forward, that's what I really want to do. But I'd always wanted to do readings for 20 years. I had an executive coach I was working with. And at one point, when it looked like I was going to leave the organization and my career, she said, well, what do you really want to do? I was like, I don't know. Thinking she's going to think I'm crazy. But it's like, she's like, anything. Money's not an object. What do you really want to do? And I was like, ooh, anything? Okay, well, and I just took this huge leap of faith and I said, I want to do readings for people. She was like psychic readings? Not what an executive coach is expecting to hear from the CEO of a company. I was like, yep, like psychic readings. She was like, well, why don't you? And I said, I have no idea. I wanted to do it for 20 years. And it was kind of just like, I'm tired of wanting to do something for so long and not doing it. It just, nothing could have really stopped me. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, this is what I'm going to do.
Interesting. Now, did that lead you to the book that you published last year?
It did. Yes.
And so can you tell us a little bit? So tell me about your book, and it's what? The Destiny Roadmap, correct? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, the Little Guidebook to Face Your Fears, Embrace Change, and Follow Your Heart. So I'd always wanted to write a book. I probably had been saying that for just as long as I wanted to do readings. And when I walked away from the job, it was kind of like, all right, I've been doing this for 17 years. And I'd always had a spiritual life that kind of went along. It went right along with with my career. It was kind of like I used my career, the money I made, I always was constantly looking at, well, what else can I do? I got yoga teacher training, that kind of thing. So it wasn't like such a huge step outside. It's just nobody knew that I wanted to do this. Nobody knew that I kind of had to come out of the, spiritual closet. Some people call it the woo-woo closet. Nobody knew that I wanted to do readings for people. It was very few. But yeah, a lot of people had heard me say I want to write a book, but I just, something happened in the middle of the year of 2016 where I was like, I'm just going to do it. And so I hired a book coach to help me because I knew that, when you're looking for help, it's always good to have a coach. So I hired a book coach to make it happen. And then her company ended up publishing the book. And so then it was picked up by Morgan James, and it'll be out in bookstores in June. So it's been been this process of to getting to a paperback book because it's online now as a Kindle, and you can purchase an ebook.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we'll make sure that we put that link out in our show notes so people know they can get your book. So it's I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, and I've had that time in my life where, I'm not really sure where I'm going, where the path's going to lead, but I'm also afraid I don't have that courage to take that first step. I mean, why is, what do you find when you're trying to encourage people to really dig down and to take that leap of faith? Do you have advice for people who are just on the cusp and they're like, they really want, just like you really wanted to go, you always want to do readings or write a book, and you took that step to do it. Do you have, do you have any advice that you can give to people now is to follow their path? And that path may just lead them as well to Tulum or somewhere else in their life.
Yes. Yeah. What I find the most with clients is that the fear is stopping them. And it's the fear of the unknown. Depending on where you are, the pain of where you are is going to be the driver to help you push further into the unknown. But I think if you're in a soul-sucking job, or if you're in a relationship that is just has worn out its welcome, or a town that feels like a wet wool blanket, the pain of where you are is worse than anything that happens after you make the decision to take a step forward. And that's what I've learned about taking that leap of faith into the unknown and just trusting that you're going to be taken care of. The universe has a way of tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, there might be something here to look at. And a lot of times we take that first tap and just kind of push it aside. And, I was imagining that. And then it's like a bump on the head. And it's like a shove forward. And then they drop a piano on you, you know? And so we don't have to get to that like piano dropping painful part. We can make the decisions before it gets to be extremely painful. And some people never look at it, you know? I call the place that we get to, that unknown place, the void. And it is scary because you don't know what's ahead, and what your fear is doing is trying to convince you that where you are is way better than the unknown, because fear knows that, you know, it's there to tell you, watch out for you. Like, that's what our fear is for. But it's only helpful if there's, you know, a viper sitting in your path as you're walking down a, you know, on a hike or something. But what your fear wants you to do is stay safe. And so the way that we kind of exercise the courage muscle is we take the step forward when there isn't a viper, and we see what's out there. And there's signs along the way. That's the thing that people tend to not recognize or see, is that we're always being led. There's signs directing us where to go. You know, if I had left Tulum and said, oh gosh, it feels, Tulum's calling me back, I could have easily gone home and stayed in my marriage, stayed where I was, ignored the wet wool blanket feeling, ignored the fact that Tulum was calling me back. It's easy to do that. It's comfortable to do that. In fact, it's like we just get comfortable in the discomfort and we don't see what else there is. I didn't know when I came to Tulum that any of that other stuff was going to unfold for me, but I wouldn't change it at all. There's nothing I would change. It just, you know, maybe I would have left my job sooner. I might have done that. But I think I had to make sure, you know, it's like sometimes we have to make sure, like, ooh, am I really making the right decision? Because sometimes the decisions that we're making, they're really inconvenient questions that are coming up. It's like, why do I have to consider this right now, you know? But yeah, I would say that the first step is the hardest step, and know that you're being led, that the fear is trying to keep you safe. And the more you can stay out of your head and in your heart, because your heart knows the way. Your head is just telling us a bunch of stuff that really is not relevant, unfortunately. But it sounds really good when it's trying to tell us what to do. Keep us safe. It sounds so real.
Absolutely. I can tell, I mean, it's from your voice and demeanor that definitely your heart is in Tulum. And can you tell me, you know, some of your experiences in terms of culturally in being in Tulum? Because, you know, one of the things we love to do on our show here is to help people have an authentic experience, which sometimes is hard to do if you're staying at, you know, a mega resort, or people don't realize is that there is some really beautiful cultural and authentic natural experiences people can have when they come to the area. And I wanted to know if you could share any of your insights about the culture that people can take advantage of when they come down.
Yes, definitely. I always encourage people to get out of their resort. I think some people come to Mexico and they have listened to the reports from the U.S. about, you know, where to go and where not to go. Sometimes they're pretty scary. But again, fear is trying to keep us safe, you know, but I encourage people to rent a car, go explore. Some of the things that I love to do when people come down is I like to immerse myself in the culture. That's why I'm here. I didn't move here trying to bring everything from the U.S. with me. I have local friends who do temazcals, which is a Mayan sweat. I take people to those. I have another friend who is a curandera. She's a shaman, and she does egg cleansings, which is an incredible ceremony where negativity, energy that's no longer serving you is released, and she does this beautiful cleansing on you.
Now, I've had an egg. Can I interrupt on egg cleansing? Because I want people to understand. Is it because I've had an egg cleansing, but I know that there's listeners out there that are not really going, what? They scramble the egg and wash it all over you? You know, do you want to explain a little bit about it? Because egg cleansing for us, we go, oh, yeah, okay, no problem. We know what that is.
Right. Yes. It's so it's the whole egg, and eggs draw out energy is the belief. And so what happens is you have a blessing. There's smoke. They say a prayer. They do a blessing for you, whoever's doing the ceremony. And you have one egg in your left hand, and she's drawing the egg around you, up and down your body, different points in your body. And then what happens is she cracks the egg open, and then there's a reading of the egg. And so you'll get a reading of what came out of the first egg, and then the second egg is where you're at now. So ideally, your first egg has a bunch of things that you no longer need within the glass. She puts it into a glass of water. And then the second egg is where your energy is clear after they do the reading. And then she also reads, she gets to do a couple of cards with her, so tarot cards. It's an incredible experience. I go regularly now, so it's a ceremony of release, and
I'm sure there's some listeners who think we're crazy.
I know. There's some resorts that are offering both temazcals and egg cleansing, but I really like to get beyond the resorts and go to more of the local flavor, basically. But yeah, then also going to ruins. I love Koba. I love Ekbalam. But I love going on my own, not with the tour group, you know? So that's why I encourage people to rent a car. Driving in Mexico is incredibly easy. There's nothing scary. And the roads here in the Riviera Maya are just, they're great, actually. The hardest part is the topos, you know, going over the speed bumps. They come up out of nowhere. So I warn people all the time, you just watch out for those.
Especially on the road to Koba, and there's a couple on the coming into Tulum that when the sun is just right, you can't see them.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And you go flying.
Well,
I've hit them.
Yeah, no, I have too. I think that's what people miss when they go in a big tour group or a big organized project, you know, excursion to the ruins, is that they're on a time schedule, and when you get to go on your own, you can say, oh, this orchid is really pretty, and you can sit and stare at the orchid or take pictures, or to just sit there and absorb. I mean, to absorb the energy, or just to be immersed in the environment. And when you're on a time schedule, you're watching the clock, and you're not living in the moment. Right.
I 100% agree, especially in a place like Koba or Ekbalam. The energy there in both places is very different in both places, but it's so worth taking. The first time I went to Koba, I think I was there like 6 hours. Just wandered around and sat and felt the energy and climbed the pyramid, and it was unbelievable. You know, but yeah, when you're on a tour group, you're on a time schedule, you're rushing through, you're seeing what they want you to see, and you miss some of those moments for sure.
What are some of your other recommendations? I mean, did you any? I will ask, because you had mentioned right before we started the recording, is that you were vegan, and are a vegan or vegetarian? Which one?
Vegetarian. I do eat. Okay. I'm a pescatarian, so I do eat some fish, but not very much. So.
Well, I'm a big meatitarian. So I don't know I can't tell you between vegetarian and vegan and pescatarian. I could get that one. That one I understood just by the word. Do you have recommendations? Because we get asked a lot by people who are looking for vegetarian options, and in a land of pollo asado, which is grilled meats, and grilled chicken, pollo. What are some of your vegetarian recommendations to people who are coming to the area?
Well, I was pleasantly surprised at how much the food in this whole area is amazing. But usually every restaurant is pretty accommodating with the vegetarian options. But there's Raw Love in Tulum in town and on the beach. They have incredible food. Mezzanine is really good, aside from, and it has the most incredible view ever. They have a really good options for vegetarian. Burrito Amor is great. They're really vegetarian friendly and gluten free. They have incredible wraps that are made from coconut. El Vegetariano. It's really hard to come here and not find a place to eat that will recognize the fact that you're a vegetarian. The food in this area is incredible. There's a lot of really good chefs.
Yeah, Tulum has become a really, right now, a mecca of sorts in the culinary world, where a lot of great chefs are coming to the area, and just the food's amazing. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Coconut Amor is across from Chedraui, the big grocery store here. They have, they're all vegetarian. They have a great juice bar. So there's no lack of being able to eat here for me. That's awesome to hear, because that's the thing. I'm kind of at ends. I really don't have recommendations when our guests ask us for recommendations. We do have an on-staff vegetarian who makes some fabulous chilaquiles for us. But I always run shy if I kind of at a loss when someone writes me an email and says, "Hey, where can I go eat that's vegetarian?" I'm like, I don't know. But no, these are all great suggestions. That's awesome. Kelli, if people want to reach out to you for a reading, whether it's long distance or they're coming to Tulum, find out more about your book and that, how can people reach you?
Through my website is best, Kelli Reese, KelliReese.com. And then I'm also on Facebook, so they can also look me up there.
Okay, great. We'll have links over.
Either one.
We'll have links over to your website from today's show notes, and both to your Facebook page and your personal page, and of course to your Amazon list, your book that is The Destiny Roadmap, that is available on Amazon right now. And so we'll make sure we have links to that so people can maybe your book will help them define where the road is leading them. That was a mouthful, but then again, it's early this morning. Oh, Kelli, I really appreciate your time today. It's just been great chatting with you.
Thank you. It was great being here.
Well, are you inspired now to move down here? Do you want to move down here and have a little place of your own? Well, then you need to talk to our friends at By Playa. They have a friendly and knowledgeable international staff. They speak lots of languages, and they are known as being a buyer's agent. Well, what does that mean? That means they are only going to show you and sell you properties they know that have escrituras. An escritura is a title. And it's part of their due diligence to make sure the title is clear, there's no liens, and that the person who's selling the property is actually the owner. By Playa works with lawyers that specialize in fideicomisos, which is a Mexican trust. You may have heard of it already before. And they can address things such as capital gains problems immediately and right up front, so that you have no surprises along the way to closing. So contact our friends at By Playa at byplaya.com. Thanks for tuning in today, everybody. But before you take off, today's show notes can be found at locogringo.com/podcast, where we will have information on all the restaurants that Kelli mentioned, links over to her website, as well as a link over to her Amazon for her book, The Destiny Roadmap. You may not have known it, but we also have an ebook on Coba, so you can experience Coba on your own and have a more authentic experience. We'll have a link over off today's show notes, how you can get your own free copy. Here at Loco Gringo, we love the Riviera Maya in Yucatan, and we think you will too. So please reach out to us anytime for any information that you need, or if you need a place to stay, we're certainly more than happy to help.
Thanks for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe. For links, show notes, and more information, head on over to locogringo.com or give us a call toll-free at 800-478-0081.
Porque se tragó la luna, estaba enferma la rana, su madre soba que soba, dedos de pluma la panza, pensó ranita que luna era una toronja blanca, y aunque la luna es de leche, la leche estaba cortada. Croa, croa, dedos de pluma, croa, croa, dedos de agua, croa, croa, dedos de pluma.